Rachel and Brett, welcome to THN's Road to Fright Fest. We're here discussing Sick Puppy, a film in which you both star. I guess the first obvious question: how are you both feeling about the forthcoming screening at Fright Fest?
I'm very excited. I was able to watch it yesterday, and so the anxiety's come down quite a bit, being able to see it before everyone else does. But yeah, I was very happy with how it turned out, and everyone's performances were great, including Rachel as well.
Oh, thank you, Brett. I'm excited. I've never been to London before, so I've heard of this festival, and I'm just so excited to be able to go to the festival and also see London for the first time. And it's always a real treat to be able to see stuff that you're in on the big screen, and I know those theaters are really nice. But yeah, I'm excited to see it.
And as actors, what was it about, this project and these characters that made you both want to be a part of it?
I think it was such a great script on the page, first of all, and I guess I understood him in a certain way, obviously not in some ways, but uh, I understood that like childhood being taken from him in a certain way and being stuck in that past and his goofy personality coming out in certain situations. I guess it just resonated with me. And I guess according to Jay, he said the reason he cast me was because I was the only one that didn't play it cool. So
Yeah, Brett brought such a weird, like childlike innocence to such a dark character. I thought that contrast played well too. But I also was I thought the script was really interesting and really weird and different from anything that I had done before. And then particularly with the Mia character, I just thought that she brought this strangely like feminist perspective to an otherwise really dark and weird movie and story, but she really was when I read it and how I saw her was just like completely defiant to what it meant to be a victim or a target. And she just, as a representation of like kind of young woman who is maybe on the surface undermined, but is actually absolutely capable and not afraid of fighting back.
Yeah. I mean, she's this fiery high school student. I mean, she potentially doesn't have the best survival skills, trying to seduce a killer. But obviously, I think you t touched upon it a little bit. But what was, your interpretation of the character, and how did you kind of get into her skin? Because you're right, she is, she's quite bolshy against, she kind of already suspects, that there's something not quite right with him, but that doesn't stop her from kind of going in and pushing his buttons and trying to almost give him a taste of his own medicine.
Well, exactly. And you know, given how small this town is, she's aware of what's going on in the news and that these young girls are being taken and going missing. And I think that she is seeking out her own retribution because she recognizes at that age that this justice system is obviously not protecting female victims. And you see that with the Dale character and with like Charlie's storyline as well. Um, and so, you know, she's just like, well, I'll take it into my own hands then. And I thought it was really just interesting the way that she fights back and how she weaponizes consent against him. And it just I never read anything like that before, and it was such a cool character to explore.
yeah, I think it just being opposite her. She had this like reckless abandon yet confidence and in character. I could feel why he wouldn't attack her for some reason. There was this like strength that Rachel brought to it. And yeah, there's this weird like I bought that he wouldn't attack her. I don't know why. I can't explain it to like I can't specifically explain why, but I knew he wouldn't attack her. Just she had this reckless confidence that just threw him off so much, and I guess he also probably envied that as well. Um, but yeah, it was funny to watch it back and go like buy everything about it that he would let her go at the end, that he would open the cage for her. It just made sense to me.
Yeah.
And you're playing John, he's a serial killer husband of our lead character Charlie. How does one prepare to play a serial killer? Is it a case of watching a ton of true crime documentaries? Are you like schooled up on everybody now?
Yeah, that was part of it. And like I've always had a fascination with it, like a lot of people have. So I've seen a bunch of them. I think a lot of it was just, and it's not necessarily just serial killers too, but just understanding that people can go against their own self-interests all the time, and that people can have they can split their brain into two where it just there's something that doesn't make sense, but they still do it, and yet they can justify it in some way. I think just like learning from like just seeing people in my own life and just yeah, and watching stuff too, just being able to understand that humans are capable of that. And then it kind of settles you into like, oh, I don't have to try and play too much. Like just let that kind of settle itself out and just understand and just play with like, okay, what would make me kill, or what is there some sort of vice that I have that I can just kind of connect it to that in my own way.
And the pair of you share some pretty intense scenes. How did you go about building up that trust so that you kind of had that safe space to kind of push one another and perform in those sequences?
Well, I knew we'd be friends like like the first day.
Are you gonna tell our
Like
origin
she's
story?
just like, yeah, she was just like making fun of me from day one and poking fun at me and what have you, offset. And I just her playful nature just it made it a lot easier uh, to play, I guess, in that sense too.
I feel like when I found out the cast, who else was gonna be in the movie, I like sent Brett like a DM on Instagram, and we just immediately got into this like banter with each other. Like I'm making old jokes to him, he's you know making other jokes to me, and I think we established early on that we were going to be like as playful and fun about it as possible so that everything would feel comfortable and safe. And I feel like even earlier when we were talking about Mia and John's dynamic, like Brett, when we were filming, I feel like there's so many times we were like, are they like kind of best friends? In like a weird way, like they both don't have any other friends.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Especially when like we had that common enemy of Dale.
Yeah.
Those scenes felt like yeah, like we had teamed up
Yeah.
in a weird
I
way.
agree with you. It's just such a
Yeah.
weird relationship, but I also don't understand why, but I was backing it too.
I think it's like you could remove that sort of serial killer aspect and you have got this weird kind of like frenemy relationship sort of film that I think it was more prominent, I guess, in the 90s, but you have films recently like something like Dinner in America, which is slightly sweeter but is more kind of it's got that kind of like punk rock spirit. So I guess there's another version of this film where we take out the killing and we just have John and Mia kind of going on this wild spree.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, we've obviously you talked about your time together, but we should also talk about, Natasha, obviously who's the lead, Charlie in this, she has, I think all of the characters in this film have this great duality to them, but, obviously she's kind of, obviously with you, Brett, she's John's wife. So she kind of starts off in like wifey mode before kind of
Mhm.
being brought into his world. But then with Mia, she's more of a threat than John is. How did you guys both find her as a scene partner?
Yeah, I mean, she was incredible, and just watching it back, just seeing how well she was able to craft that shift, and to to like to watch a scene from like the first scene to the last scene. There's just this dynamic switch, but it never seemed false at any point to me. It just seemed like it seamlessly transitioned into that. Um, yeah, she was incredible, and she was always open to everything, and just like Rachel, like down to play and discover, and um, yeah, like we just established boundaries right away, and then we just played within that.
Yeah, I thought working with Natasha was such a great learning experience for me too, because she's so incredible in the way that she was able to um like navigate that role and how much she had to film. And obviously I think we shot this in like what, like 3 weeks, Brett, or something like that.
Yeah, 12 days or something, or
But
13.
it was so
Yeah.
short. And just I only had one scene with her directly. But just being able to see her all the time on set and the way she just moved through everything with such confidence and grace was like inspirational for me. And yeah, she was just like she was such a good leader for the
Mm.
movie, and you could see it. You can tell when you watch it. It's like yeah, she really just anchors the whole thing, and she was so perfect for that role and so perfect to set the precedent for the energy on set and everything. I thought it was awesome.
And have you been able to eat spaghetti again? Because there's a scene where Mia gets a massive bowl of spaghetti, and she goes to town on that thing.
Yeah.
That's well, yeah, that's I love spaghetti. So they didn't tell me I had to eat it like that.
I knew
I
that.
wanted
As soon as I watched her eat it, I was like, because I wasn't there that day, or at least I wasn't watching that scene. And
yeah.
as soon as I saw her eat that, I was like, oh yeah, that's all Rachel. Rachel came up with all of that.
Yeah. I love spaghetti. So I've still been eating lots of spaghetti ever since then, just the same way.
Nice. And obviously the kind of like I guess the center of this story almost is these two different women who are both in their own ways trying to change John. And I think that's, quite a common thing where, women are like, I can fix him. But particularly it seems with characters like serial killers, you look at sort of like Ted Bundy and people, they had women writing to them when they were in prison. What do you think it is about these sorts of men that draws women in their droves to them?
I have no idea. I I don't know about like what would draw women in that kind of way. I think I think for Mia it was just this like challenge for her in a weird way and a game for her. And I think that, um because she got to have the experience with him outside of how he usually interacts with these girls, in the cage, she it was able to establish like an equal playing field with him so that even when he did get her into that, or she was in the cage and muzzle and everything, she was just refusing to be a victim to it, and she could recognize in him that his power comes from putting these young girls in situations where they're like physically and situationally subordinate to him, and that's what makes him powerful. It doesn't come from anything innate in him. Like she can see that he's actually quite weak. And yeah, that's what I think. That's how I think she's able to take it that far and continue to approach him and mess with him right up until the end.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought about it a bit because I wanted to understand for myself why she would stay with me, just to try and like bring something so the audience wasn't going like, why is she there? Or I guess why is she there, but also at least believe it in a sense. So I mean, I thought the only thing I could come up with was just like that kind of like power, that raw power that maybe some women find attractive in some way. Like when at the beginning when he's kicking the woman on the ground. Um, the only thing I could think of was maybe that there's some sort of interest in that kind of raw animalistic expression, I guess. That was all I could come up with.
I also think when it's situations where people are like, "Oh, I can change him," like actually a lot of the times comes from a perspective of recognizing the qualities in them that make them vulnerable and for like weaker, because then you have that special like empathetic side for them, and that's why you want to support them through change or stick by them. And then I think that also like what you're talking about, Brett, like there's that like erotic side of it too, where it's like, they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. We shot this in Canada, but there's like what's that popular serial killer couple, Carla Hermosa and
Yeah,
what's the guy?
I don't remember.
But they're like a infamous couple of serial killers in Canada. But yeah, so it happens. I mean,
Paul Bernardo? Paul
Paul
Bernardo.
Bernardo, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
And I guess sort of my final question to you both, people who are going to Fright Fest are trying to work out their schedule and what film they're going to watch when. Why do you each hope that they take a chance on Sick Puppy?
I think I think everyone gives such great performances, and I think you can lose yourself in it. And also just kind of what Rachel was going on is there's such a strong female voice to this story, and it's so different than anything else that I've ever seen. You never Natasha gets to play this female role that gets to kill people and be a serial killer, which you never get to see. So I thought that was like and I didn't even realize it at the time, but watching it back, that's kind of what I got from it.
Yeah. I think the film is just it's so disturbing and in a way where you can't stop watching it and you become invested in these characters that are very morally gray, all of them. And then there's this really strange undertone of yeah, like we were talking about this like message about you know how I guess there's like this undertone of this message that he people predators like this they target young girls because they assume that they're very weak and cowardly and they can get away with it and similarly with Charlie's storyline with Dale too. And ultimately, it's this exact thought that kills both John and Dale at the end of the day, at the hands of what they thought wouldn't be able to do that to them. So I think that that is reason enough for me to get into the theater, and it's a really fun movie too.
I agree. Well, thank you both for your time and best of luck with the screening.
Thank you so
Yay!
much.
Thank you.